Um, so our goal today is, we have a few, it's kind of packed. We're exploring unlearning, and we're exploring the notion of writing, and we're exploring the good life. Small things. We also are just doing introductions, because I know some of you from previous cohorts and from other previous conversations and interactions, but we don't know each other. So what I want to do is we're going to do a brief introduction of just who we are, where we are. I'm thinking geography, but you can take that any way you want to take it. And just a tiny bit about maybe why you're here.
Okay, I will start.
Thanks, Sarah.
Okay, so hi, my name is Sarah Taylor. I am currently located in Fort Collins, Colorado. And I am here largely because I've done this twice before, and it has just been like so beneficial and awesome both times, and was a very positive experience. And also I've been feeling kind of stuck, like creatively, and not sure what I want to do next. I have a bunch of ideas. I don't like any of them. I would like some different ideas maybe. And definitely been trying to embrace trying things that I'm not good at, that I like don't really like doing, to see what that's like. I've been like running, trying to like do that because I hate it and I've never been good at it, but it's kind of awesome having no expectations for myself. I'm trying to like readopt that with other things, and like stop thinking that like I should be better at things than I think I'm doing at that time. So I'm excited to try to explore that and do all those things here.
You just unmute myself. Cool metaphor with the running too. That's really interesting.
Been a real suffer fest, but I think it's been good.
Well, swimming too, or other non-impact sports. So I'm just saying, I don't want to like dissuade from your running habit.
Yes, Mike, we'll see what happens. I've kind of stubbornly signed myself up for some things, so we'll see.
That book, Slow Burn by Stu Middleman. I love this book.
I think I've heard about that one.
If you're into jogging, it's about endurance training, but the whole first section is like mindsets for the distance. So it's like training your mind, training your body, training your diet. It's really great.
Very cool.
Okay, thanks, Sarah.
Yes, thank you.
We're just totally popcorn style, as I say in Clubhouse. Michelle.
I'll go next. And my dog's going to join me. So that's Cooper, the miniature golden doodle, in the other room. So I am in Cincinnati, Ohio. And Sarah, I'm not running, but I'm walking a lot and just trying to spend more time outdoors. And even when I'm working, doing walking meetings. And so something that I encountered during COVID was Clubhouse. And that's where I found Sean and the rooms that he would run. And he's one of my, don't tell him, but he's like my favorite person on Clubhouse. And and draws, really interesting people together. And so I thought, well, I've been wanting to do more writing. My day job is in philanthropy. Cool. And I would like to just do more self-discovery through writing. And I know that Sean brings together interesting people. So I just really wanted to be with you all. So I'm super excited. This is my kindergarten first day too, Sean.
I love that energy so much. And thank you. That's really kind.
I'll piggyback on Michelle's share, since I also discovered Sean through Clubhouse recently. And I think it was a room about like asking the right questions, and there was just a ton of resonance there. And so my name is Ruth Kaur, and I am an educator. I live in the Central Valley of California. And I'm interested in being a part of this cohort because I noticed that it was really thoughtfully constructed when Sean kind of talked about the container, its duration, and what elements he had sequenced in what order. I was like, wow, this is very thoughtfully composed. And I want to just allow that experience to come into my life. This is good timing. And I love to write, and yeah, so I'm excited to have something that introduces a little more like discipline and regularity and contemplation also about the craft. So it's wonderful to be with you guys.
All right, I can go next.
Please.
So my name is Sanaz. I'm probably the furthest from everybody. I'm in Sydney, Australia. So-
And what time? And what time is
Clubhouse,
it there? You're in the future.
oh,
You're calling from
I
the
am
future.
I'm always in the future. It's 10 a.m. Wednesday morning. There you go. And yes, Clubhouse brought us together as well. Very strangely, I happened to click on a link, and I happened to end up in Sean's room. And for some odd reason, I ended up as a speaker, didn't I? And that's how we met.
Crazy.
It is crazy. So I'm in the learning and enablement work. So that's my profession. I work full time for Microsoft. And then we started talking about the whole world of learning and adult learning. And I also am a coach, and I do a lot of professional leadership development. So there was a lot of just common interest, and I got very interested in this particular workshop and the way it's constructed, Ruth, as you were saying so thoughtfully. And I think it was just meant to be. There's no way that the universe didn't put us in that clubhouse for me not to be here. So that's why I'm here, to learn and meet all of you guys.
I was told ghost in the machine. Like, it's like, wait, I didn't invite anyone up on the stage. Like, how did you get up here? And you're like, I don't know. I don't know.
I still can't figure it out, but I am meant to be here today.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thanks for using the chat too, Leslie. Leslie?
Hey, so I'm Leslie. I'm in Gunnison, Colorado, which is kind of in the west, I don't know, south central part of Colorado, and it's beautiful. I've lived here for 8 weeks. I was in Fort Collins previously for 24 years, and this is my third time doing this wisdom workshop. And both of the other 2 times, things were really different. So I was, I don't know, super stressed out, trying to figure out the first time I was super stressed out and super unhappy, kind of angry at some things going on at work. The second time I had decided I was for sure retiring from work. I was going to take 6 to 8 months off, and I only made it 3 before I got an offer to come down and be an interim at Western Colorado University, which is a really magical place. My daughter goes to school here, and it's hard to even describe how amazing it's been for her. Like I always tell people, she's a better human than when she got here. And that's a huge deal. And so I work in enrollment. And so I got the opportunity to come work at Western and spend some time with my daughter. It was going to be a 6-month gig, and I'm already like, that's not going to be long enough. So trying to figure out how long that's going to last and where it takes me next. I love all the Clubhouse connections. I tried really hard to be a clubby, and I'm not a clubber. I'll try it again, maybe now when my brain is different. Like my brain's just in a really different place than it was the last time I tried it. But I want to get back to writing. I want to try to see if I can get into some more creative writing. I'm managing a marketing team, and I haven't managed a marketing team in a long time. And so thinking about writing a little bit more. So yeah, I'm just super excited to be here, and can't wait to see how this cohort goes, because I've really, I've enjoyed it. It changed me a lot in really positive ways.
So thanks, Leslie. I just have to say how interesting it is that you went from get me the fuck out of here in your last job to now I'm like going to be spending more time here. That feels different.
It told me a lot, like, because when I was leaving CSU, it was hard. I was trying to figure out, like, was it the work I no longer enjoyed? And I work in enrollment. I have a real passion for access. Yeah. Or was it the people? Or was it the circumstance? Was it COVID? Was it the new administration? Like, what the hell had made me suddenly so unhappy at work? The good news is I still enjoy the work, and I'm happy doing the work again. And it's still really hard, but there's no COVID, and it's a different place. So I'm just super happy being here.
Well, I'm happy. I'm happy that you're happy doing it. I'm sure
Thanks,
they're.
Sean.
I'm sure you're a huge asset to the team. Okay. Anyone else want to make any connections? Things that we noticed? Synchronicities already?
I wanted to
Okay.
share that Sam just wrote that he's going to join us.
Awesome.
Yeah, so he should be popping in a second. He's another person that is coming into this group through Clubhouse connection. So
yeah,
I'll
awesome.
let him introduce himself when he arrives.
Awesome. I will do that, and then I will. So I am a syncretist. I don't know if this is a word. I like to pull things together, and it's interesting. We have, there's, I think, this whole idea of learning, or learning. When I hear learning enablement and enrollment and experience, Ruth, you said discipline and regularity and contemplation of the writing craft is really interesting. And hopefully, and Leslie saying creative writing, I was about to write like kind of in and outside of your job, like writing well for your team in ways that advances what you're doing, but also writing well for yourself. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, I think one of the many times I talked about I write things inside my head and never put them on paper. Like I create essays in my head, but I never put them down. So I'm hoping to follow on Ruth, have a little more discipline about doing that. Even if it's that I narrate it into my phone and then do it later. But, yeah.
With the voice memos app, I've started doing that captain's log. I have to be overly geeky about it, and then it's easier to get into it. So it's like I'd go captain's log. That's how I start them. Friday morning, thinking about the wisdom workshop, and then I'll do that. And then you can put those transcripts into Otter, though I haven't done anything. I have so much transcripts I haven't done anything with. I don't even know why I'm doing it. It's like kind of a cruel joke that who's going to read this captain's log? I don't know. But at least I'm talking to myself, if that's healthy. Awesome. Well, I want to let you get situated. How do you say your name? Simar? I don't mean to put you right on the spot as soon as you get here. Are you still? We can't hear you if you're speaking, and I know it's kind of Zoom whiplash, jumping into a meeting and all of a sudden getting adjusted with the microphone is a definite thing. So it's all right. We're introducing, we just went around to hear who people are and where they are. So we're just doing basic intros. Then we're going to do a little bit on free writing, and then we're going to explore what the good life is for each of us. Sarah, and I didn't go, so I should go. Sarah is in Fort Collins, Colorado. She's working on playing with expectations of herself in different domains of her life, and is working on getting unstuck creatively. This is the third time she's taken the course, and she's loved it, so she's back. Good. Sarah, you can give me a thumbs up or thumbs down or medium thumb for and then Michelle is in Cincinnati, Ohio. She thinks I draw interesting people together, and she wanted to be a part of that. She also is into doing more self-discovery through writing. She's already started morning pages. Julie Cameron. Ruth is in Central Valley of California. She's an educator, and she is mainly here to experience the thoughtfully composed container that is this curriculum. She's also interested in the discipline and regularity and contemplation about the craft. This is really weird to paraphrase people's test my listening and note-taking skills. Sanaz is the furthest away from us. She comes from the future in Sydney, Australia, although I'm not sure where you are. You may be in, she's in learning enablement, works full-time at Microsoft. She also came to this group through Clubhouse. She's also a professional leadership works in professional leadership development as a coach. And that's also how we met, is exploring her work. So I was curious about it. Leslie recently moved from Fort Collins to Gunnison, Colorado. She works in enrollment with a passion for access, and she's glad to be doing what she's doing. She wants to get more into writing, creative writing in and outside of her job, and also looking for the discipline and regularity to get the essays she's writing in her head down on paper. My name is Sean. This whole thing is my part of my own lifelong learning. It was a passion project of mine at the beginning of the pandemic. I had a little mini midlife creative crisis about trying to make a living as an independent musician. Actually, a side living. I've been working at the university. I've been working at Colorado State University for 15 years. I just celebrated my 15-year anniversary, including my time as a grad student in philosophy and education there. I love working at CSU. It enables me to kind of do these kinds of passion projects. Anyway, when I was doing some investigation, what is more important to me than music, if I'm going to take a break from this because I'm getting burnt out, I thought about how much I loved to read when I was a kid, how much I loved books, and how much I loved school. I thought about going back to school. I started looking at these different programs and being like, I want to be excited about school, but I don't know. And then I realized that about 1/10 of my students in the university like get what I'm doing. And I'm like, man, and that was also at the beginning of the pandemic, and we started meeting on Zoom. And I was like, what if I could find the students that I'm meant to work with and just not teach the ones that I don't want to teach? Is that a thing? Could I and then I had like I call it the field of dreams moment, where it was like, if you build it, they will come. And I'm like, well, what? Build what? And I was like, well, you need to build what you want. What would you want to take? What's the what kind of education you want? And then I'm like, oh, well, philosophy, there'd be some creativity, and it'd be like design your own, but there's also be a container. People need to do world philosophy. So I started just iterating and doing all these things. First one was in February of last year, so 2021. And at that time, I had like 3 courses that I was offering, one on creativity, one on world religion and world philosophy, and one on writing the good life. This was the course that people were interested in. Actually, some people were interested in the other ones, but nobody wanted to pay for them. But this one seemed valuable and for people, and it has been. And I've since it's just been amazing. So I'm really stoked to be here. I personally am exploring my writing process and practice after having a daughter 11 weeks ago. So this is my first time back from paternity leave, self-imposed paternity leave from CSU and Wisdom Workshop. This is my first one as a dad. And so I'm playing with new things this time. So it's always, I'm doing this with you all. I'm not teaching it. I'm in it with you. And I'm going to be I always have big ambitions at the start of each of these, which is exciting, but okay, that's me. That's too much for me. Simar, welcome.
Thank you very much, Sean. Pleasant introduction. I apologize for not joining earlier. I actually could not sleep. It's 5:50 a.m. in the morning here in India, and I have been up all night. So, so I apologize for joining in late.
All right, I sent you, I think it's actually on me because I realized I didn't send you the email until later. So it's very kind of you. I think it's my fault, but would you tell us where you are and a little bit about what you do or what you want to get out of the experience here?
Yes, I'm from New Delhi, India, and I had a chance to have multiple great conversations with Ruth, who's present here in Canada. And the conversation was mostly around the shifting in the religious outlook that that we now follow. I was born in a Sikh family. Very, very fortunately, I had an encounter with Christ in India. And slowly I began to learn more about the spiritual realm. So I am in close touch with some of the great exorcists and apostles there in India. Starting my background is absolutely different and it has nothing to do with spirituality. I was a business analyst working with McKinsey and Company. I worked with a few more companies as a product engineer and product manager, mostly based on the lines of IT and analysts, market research. But this encounter, it just opened me up, It opened me up into a different kind of experience. I connected with more people, very different, more than just how I talk or what my educational qualification is, or what I'm looking for in an interaction. It was just a little bit more than that. So it has just completely altered me, changed me. I've seen great exorcisms, extreme exorcisms in front of my eyes. And earlier, I was a very different person. I used to just absolutely rubbish that whether these things are real. I was a major skeptic. I don't know what is it, if it's real or it's I was not able to figure it out. But now, since I have experienced it, and I've also seen it in front of my eyes, I draw, I can easily see that so many things are in the parallel spiritual world which we don't see. And so we are not able to access what is going on actually in people's life. But now I can see that. I can feel differently. I can connect differently. That's a little bit about me.
Thank you. And how do we say your name? Or what should we call
Simar.
you? Simar. Awesome. Fantastic. I'm really glad to have you here all the way from India. That makes me happy, especially being where we are in Fort Collins. So thank you. Here's what I want to do. I want to spend about 10 minutes to do a timed writing exercise. And we're going to start we have this group and we're going to go into our own space. And we're going to come back to the group. And we're playing with this own space, group space, own space, group space throughout the course. There's a little microcosm of that. In the course, we're all going to go into the own space, whatever that is. So this is a timed writing exercise. How many of us have done free writing before? Something like this? Okay, there's some rules that I want to set for this. Rule number 1, just keep writing. Rule number 2, don't care whether or not your writing is good or bad. In fact, it's great if it's bad. Let it be bad. This is really the trick to this. We are practicing a kind of non-reactive, non-judgmental awareness. We're going to look a little bit, this is the week where we do a tiny bit of Buddhist psychology and Buddhist philosophy. And we are using a mindfulness practice here that is about not judging ourselves or the thoughts that come up. That's all we're using it for. So we're not judging. The other rules that Natalie Goldberg has is don't worry about punctuation. Don't worry about spelling. Just go. Does that make sense? Now, I'd say this was free writing. You just write whatever's on your mind, or as I like to say, write what's on your heart, because that's a little more honest than what's on your mind. The mind is a confusing place, the heart less so. It's confusing in a different way. So I could ask, what's on your heart right now? Or where's your heart? But typically, free writing, you don't have any prompts. I am most interested, though, in this prompt to get us going. The good life is I'm hoping that we each have a little bit different spin on this. The other, and I'm glad those of you that went on video mute, please feel free, if you're going to be self-conscious writing on video, you can mute your video as much as whatever as you like. We're going to go for 10 minutes when I say go. I'm going to give you another prompt in case you run out of that one. If you're like, the good life is cookies, next question, please. Do you have any goals for the course? Is there something that you want to do every day? Or something you want to do every week? This is the main challenge for this first week, is to design your own thing. Which means, what do you want to do every day? That's realistic. And what do you want to do every week? That's realistic. So you might start thinking about that. Something come to mind? What do you want to do? Do you like trying to do something over the course of the course? I want to put that down. And those are pretty much, we already did the other basic intros. Yeah, so the first one is where's my heart, or where are you? We already kind of answered that one. But those are the other, the good life is what? And if you have goals. Free writing. If you start thinking about something that's more alive than either of these questions, forget these questions. Just go. This book, Natalie Goldberg's Writing Down the Bones, is one of my favorite books of all time. She says, go for the jugular, which is the source of life. So if you're writing and you say something that you're like, oh man, that's something that's alive for me, I feel like this is alive, go there. Forget these prompts. Okay. Do we any questions? Do we have our writers start your engines? All right, here we go. Unmute myself. We're gonna go until 38 after. So that was 10 minutes. I always in class, I hate interrupting students when I can see them writing. That was the best thing we could do with our time. Just keep going. I'm gonna throw out my lesson plan. No, first I want to know about the experience first. So how is the experience of writing like that? I'll just start with me. It's a little, I felt like the timed writing aspect of it, where I was like, there was like a frenetic, I think frenetic is the word exactly. It was like a frenetic energy for me, where I was just like, gotta get this down. I only got 10 minutes. Which is kind of nice because when I've done morning pages lately, I've been like, oh, 20 minutes have gone by and I've only written a half a page. Oh. So I think I want some balance. Anyway, that's mine. The experience, some notes on not what you wrote, but or the experience of it.
For me, I mean, I like that you gave us a little bit of a prompt, because I think I would have just been watching the wall going. So it was good. And I kind of had the same feeling of, oh, I've got to write about all of these prompts, like it's good. So it gave me something to start off with. And I was writing it, keep thinking, I don't care what I'm writing, whatever is coming. But then there was a part of me going, do I have to read this out to everybody? Are people going to go, what the hell is she going on about? So there was that also.
Can I just say that you'll never be forced to read anything ever. So all sharing is completely voluntary. I also don't, this has only kind of happened in one workshop when someone was like, can I read what I wrote? And people are like, yeah, of course. And then like 5 minutes later, they're still reading and you're like, oh my God. So don't feel pressured to share, but feel free to share. And if you do share, just don't share. But I don't know how to say that without being okay.
Yeah.
So yeah,
no, I loved it. I thought that was good. And I think it's such a good exercise, because as I was thinking, the good life is, and there were parts where I was like, well, what is a good life? And then there were words coming, but I had challenges actually putting them into sentences. And I thought that was an interesting observation. Yeah.
it's really interesting, actually.
Yeah, I noticed that the sentence structure, I was given permission to ignore that, so I did. And
yes, great.
And it makes for like rambling sentences with awkward clauses and things like that. So the structure is displeasing on the one hand, but it's not supposed to be, so I'm fine with it. But yeah, it's a good exercise for breaking that tendency within me to correct along the way and conform the ideas to a structure along the way, even while the ideas are still coming.
Yes. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Sarah, sorry.
I was going to say, I found the experience to be sort of frustrating at first, because I was just like writing all this stuff, and a lot of it, I felt like I was like not really pinning down what I'm even trying to say. I'm kind of like dancing around it. And I'm also wondering in the back of my head, I'm like, is any of this salvageable, or is there a single thing I could pull out to be like, this in my explanation? But yeah, it's just a lot of nonsense. I'm like, maybe there's something in here, but yeah, I'm like, it's nice just to get it out and like, let that happen and just like not worry about it. But it definitely is hard not to judge sometimes in the process of being just like, what am I even saying right now? Like, this is just like, doesn't make any sense.
I love that you said that, because it reminds me of sometimes it's like, I feel like you have to like wade through a bunch of shit to get to something. Pardon my language again. There's like some sessions, it's like you're just like, it's 20 minutes of, it just feels like crap to write it. You pretty much know you're not getting anywhere. You're judging yourself the whole time, which we're not supposed to do, but I'm doing it anyway.
Can't help it.
And then there's like something that comes up, And you're like, oh, whoa, okay, whoa, okay, maybe I'll start there next time. And sometimes nothing, but I think if you can get to that point where you're okay, if nothing does come up, then it's really just liberating to let your mind go, which is where a lot of the good stuff does come from.
I agree. Just need to get some more of this out.
Yeah, and maybe there's some stuff in there. Maybe there's some words that are really significant. Maybe if you like throw, like circle some words and put them into a new thing later, maybe there's something.
It's a good idea.
Other notes on the experience? Yeah, Michelle, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I was kind of like you said, Sean, out of the gate, I was just kind of flying and writing. And then I had this experience where I was like, ooh, I kind of like that. That's kind of good. And which surprised me, right? But then after I did that, then I kind of froze because I thought I have to keep writing. I have to keep writing. And I was writing about presence in here. And being present is part of the good life. And so then what I did was the last 2 minutes, I just kept writing down the words right now, right now, right now, because I was like, I'm just going to be present. I'm just going to be present right now. And that was all I could come up with. And so it was just this interesting journey of like running out of the gate, feeling like you're like, oh, this is great. And then like kind of a crash. And then I just thought, well, I'm going to ground myself by just writing the same words. And then I changed it to write now, like write, WRIT now. And then it turned into write new. So it just started unfolding on its own little thing. Did that make sense?
That. No, it does. And I was trying to make a joke in the chat, but didn't really work.
Oh.
What's so interesting is that the judgment of, oh, this is great, gets in the way just as much as, oh, this isn't any good.
Yeah.
In this exercise. And we're not actually in a good position to actually assess whether or not it's good or not, especially if we're working towards something that we can't yet see. It's like killing a brainstorming session before it really gets going, kind of in a professional environment. You don't want the person in the brainstorming session to be like, that's a terrible idea, because of course it's a terrible idea. It's a brainstorming session. You also don't want the person to be like, oh, that's great, let's go with that, because no, it's a brainstorming session. Like, let's keep going. And then later we can be like, actually, let's go with that one. Now that we have like 18 on the board, that's the one. So that was really illuminating for me.
So my experience was really relaxing, which is really different than the first 2 times I took the class. Like, I don't know, like I was just super chill, kind of like out for a walk by the river, kind of like just in a really good headspace. And it was funny, right? 10 minutes to me sometimes seems so long, like it's so hard to just slow down for the 10 minutes. And so I was thinking about, that was kind of some of the stuff I was writing about. And it was so funny, I'm like, well, and I was just about to write, and I'm done. And you said it's been 10 minutes. Like in that moment, I was like, oh, thank God. But it was, yeah, it was really nice. It was kind of paced. It's super messy. And I also love when we do these and then you're done and you go back, you're like, what did I even write? Like, that's really like when you're in the zone and you're flowing, because you don't even know what you did when you're done with it. You have to go back and look at it to remember all of it. But it was a really good one for me, which is, it's not always that way. A lot of times I'm kind of angsty.
I love that. I love that. Not only because you said relaxation, but I also like, it's almost like a sense of accomplishment too. Like it's actually like, you're like, oh, I actually just wrote for 10 minutes.
Very much so.
And accomplishment is one of the things that we need to feel good. Like it's part of the positive psychology framework. Small wins are important wins. So that's an interesting one. Any other, please?
Yeah. I mean, before I started writing, I was like, I mean, I know this is not going to work out because you've already done this many times by yourself. So this was going on in the back of my mind. I mean, no matter how many times you try, even the simplest of the things that you want to achieve, they seem just impossible. So that is what initially my thoughts were. And then slowly I just started writing. I was like, this is a fresh and brand new start. You don't have to go back there again. And then I started writing one after the other, and the third and the fourth. Then it flowed on. Then I didn't stop. So yeah, that was the experience.
Fantastic. Okay, any other reflections on what anybody said? All right, well then, now for our main event. I guess I just want to reiterate that this practice of free writing, and particularly as Natalie Goldberg says, the timed writing exercise, where you have a clear starting point and you go for a set amount of time and there's a clear ending point. It's a foundational piece of this course, particularly. There is not a right or wrong way to do it. In fact, a 3-minute timed writing exercise can be super powerful for people. 5 minutes, other people advocate for that. I've lately been doing 25 minutes, and I try to write consistently for 15 to 20 of those minutes. So I give myself 8 minutes of zone out time, right? But the same thing, I'm setting a timer more or less, and I go. Putting your phone on airplane mode, setting a timer and going, you can replicate this kind of like, go. And it helps you get out of that, like you said, Simar, that kind of like overthinking it. So that, play with what works with you, but this timed writing exercise, it isn't exercise, it's like this. Hopefully you'll have bigger biceps than these, but you get what I'm saying. It's dumb joke. What did Leslie say in the chat? Yeah, wow. Well, you got to hustle, Leslie.
I know people were talking about what they did over the weekend. No, I didn't get very much done. I'm like, yeah, I didn't either. I mean, I did in some ways.
I didn't either.
But I did in some ways, but like, yeah, I spent a lot of time just relaxing, which it's so good for you. And yet there's this whole like, what did you get done? What are you doing? Blah, 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 blah. Sometimes I do nothing really well.
It's a challenge to do nothing. Okay, so then I do want to, for at least another, and these are usually, we go for 75 minutes or 90 minutes, somewhere in there. If it seems like we're done, we'll end early on the 75. I'm imagining we'll probably go closer to 90 most days. But there's some flexibility there. All right, what did we say? What's the good life? Did we write on that? And it's interesting. Maybe I should say, don't look at what you wrote and just tell me. Forget what you wrote. Don't ever look at it again. In fact, go burn it right now. It's just an exercise. Just tell me, person to person, what's the good life? Or you can look at what you wrote. It's just.
I'll start, Sean.
Thank you.
I think it's being intentional.
Mm.
And something I wrote about is I'm intuitive. I end up in a good place. And I don't think what I'm giving credit to is my inner wisdom that really has been working. So I think I'm being intuitive, but it is directed. And so I think connecting those two things together with intention becomes, so I don't know what the answer is to what is the good life, but I think that's the path for getting there, is connecting those things.
And then what are the two things? Intentions and inner wisdom?
It was inner wisdom with intuition.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, and as you were speaking, Michelle, I was thinking about how writing can be that practice that helps you become aware of what already you feel like you're acting from intuition, which you're finding to be naturally wise. So you're like, ooh, that's happening in real time all the time, and I'm failing to mine the wisdom from these now moments where wisdom is apparent, but I haven't said anything about it. I haven't articulated it in words. What would it be like to put it into word form and see it in word form and appreciate it in word form?
Thank you, Ruth. That's really helpful. That's yes.
Yeah.
It's giving words to it and communicating to myself. Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And so closely aligned with what I wrote too. I said the good life is full of enjoying, and also it's spontaneous yet balanced. So I was kind of feeling that same thing that you were talking about, gosh, there's something really joyful and spontaneous, yet it's balanced with this inner wisdom. And it is that, like, I don't know, that divide that between the action and the knowing about the action that I want to close and, bring some unity to, so that they're not quite so, yeah. And then I said, you're living the good life if your happiness is not conditional and your expression feels complete, even while ongoing. So, and then the actions and doing of the being inform the soul's seeing into the true nature of existence, because seeing into the true nature is naturally rewarding. So the good life has the doing, but the doing is the teacher through which we come to appreciate and know more of the truth. And the truth is naturally rewarding and satisfying. And then the last thing I said is one feels the joy of learning and unlearning, discovering and exploring deeper layers of truth.
I'm struck by the word truth, and I find that so interesting because I think the word honesty is, and honesty with myself, honesty with others, is something that I've been gravitating towards more. Not that I'm a dishonest person, you all don't know me, but just in terms of feelings and emotions, and just really again, intentional honesty is something that strikes me. So when you said the word truth, that really resonated.
Yeah, I really liked what you said about balance. I found myself talking a lot about balance when trying to find the words for what the good life is, and thinking about a balance between being challenged, but also content or satisfied or fulfilled, or whatever that other side of being challenged is. And like, also really liked to said, Ruth, about the expression being complete but ongoing. I really, really liked that, because I've always been very interested in and like passionate about like freedom of expression and people being able to express themselves however they feel they need to. And I'm like, imagining a complete expression does seem like kind of the epitome of what I would imagine the good life to be.
In process, right? Like not,
Yeah.
There's yeah. That's all I'm gonna say.
I wrote about some similar things and about the good life, being in a place and a space where you can be true and authentic, and like recognize and be free of the constraints that try to tie you down. Sometimes like you just have to recognize those things that try to keep you from being who you ought to be. I also think like allowing yourself to be in a place, in a space where happiness and gratitude are always just around the corner. And that takes work, you know, like that's not our natural being for a lot of folks. And so I think, you know, when you do that, like happiness and gratitude, like are lighting up the path in front of you. And sometimes they're actually lighting up what's behind you too. Like you can look at what happened previously differently. And I think, yeah, I think that's kind of what I was just thinking about, that like realizing both in your mind and like your actual existence and your doing, like what your purpose is. Like I think when you are living a really good life, you understand your purpose and you're working toward that.
Mhm.
I'm looking at my words that I circled, and it's almost like everything you guys say. I have balance, I have purpose, you know, this idea of harmony, all of that was in my writing too. And I was reflecting on what you were saying, Ruth, as well, in terms of doing and being. So I was reflecting to say, what does a good life look like from what are actually actions and doing? And I can think of so many things that I love doing, or what a good life, someone who's having a good life does, and things like how you do things that puts you in the flow, or that energy level that really kind of gives you the sense of freedom and sense of wisdom and all of that. So for me, it's like that energy level that you operate in that gives you the sense of the good life that you want to be in. But one of the things was the idea of ego and being kind of able to rise above that kind of ego and self-perception. That probably pulls you down from not having such amazing feelings and sense of good being. So for me, I think a good life is also having the wisdom, as Michelle, you were saying, to be able to disconnect from that sort of neediness and egoistic kind of views of life, and being able to have perspective of the bigger pictures. So maybe that's how I see it.
Okay, share now.
Go for it.
So before I started writing about what a good life is, I remembered a quote which I mentioned here. It's by Bill Jensen. It says, "The paradox of simplicity is that making things simpler is actually hard work." So, this is what I wrote. This is how I picture my good life to be: living in just some beautiful green valleys, where I'm just, farming, doing things which are simplistic in nature, minimalistic in nature, and helping others who are around, teaching people around, students, I don't know, and taking care of the animals nearby. So this is what I wrote, and this was pretty clear. I didn't have to think twice. Should I add something to it? Should I subtract to it? It was pretty clear. That's it.
Did you have gardening in there? Samar, like a sense of a garden?
Yeah, I mean, it could be a big farm.
Yeah, farm. That's right.
Yeah, big open spaces, something which I crave, I would say.
Yes. Ah, I had a lot of ones. I just started that I'm overjoyed to be doing this again. And I was like, created this. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I wasn't answering the prompt, but I was. To be overjoyed in doing this again. I also wrote, what is a good life? The challenge, in a sense, is innocence. And I like joked about with myself with that wordplay, but that to arrive at my own definition without falling back on what's been taught. So I could like tell you what people have said the good life is, And I've heard so many of these now that I could like, well, the definition I like the most is the good life is helping other people live the good life, which I still really like that one a lot. But like for me to do this prompt, the challenge is to forget all of that. So just come back to like, so then I said, so perhaps the question would be, if you were a child again, thinking about being excited for kindergarten, what would the good life be? And then my answer was to be overjoyed in doing this again. It's like where I already was before I started thinking about it. To create again and again the conditions to create again and again the conditions for the particular flowering of this particular life on earth. I also have been getting to experience with fresh eyes, so see things newly, I think is part of it. To be present, I got presence. Trusting there's something in the box, trusting the gift unfolding. The good life is relaxation, lessening the grip, being okay with it. Yeah. Continual practice. I also, yeah, I'm gonna leave that there because then I started getting into some other definitions that I really like. I think I ended saying the good life is the continual practice of heaven on earth. What that means from making earth more heavenly, which I think is a practice of there's a few things in there, but it is something that we do, I think. And that's why I really liked yours. I like going after you some more because helping others, teaching, taking care of others. Give a community of people all doing that feels pretty heavenly to me. Okay, well, my job here is done. No, just joking. What did we notice? What's standing out? I want to ask, what's common among us? And thank you, Sanaz, for already mentioning balance came up. You said harmony, but I think that was your word, not what.
That was my word. Yeah, that was my word.
That's not,
Yeah.
I think you were the only person that mentioned that. It's a powerful word. Purpose came up a couple times. And this notion of doing and being came up. That was common among us. Doing in a way that, yeah, please. So anything else that we noticed?
It was like doing for being, if you will. Like if we're taking brief notes, it's really more like doing in a manner that serves the being.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Yeah.
Like Leslie said, removing the stuff out of the way that gets in the way of us. And that was the other thing I wanted to mention, the truth connected to honesty, connected to Leslie saying authenticity, like being who I really am authentically. Sorry, Michelle.
Oh, I was just struck with the thought that I could take, and as I'm seeing everyone's picture, I could just put the word "and" with each one, because as I listened to each one, I was like, oh, and that too, and that too. Oh yeah, that. Oh, I wish I would have said that. Well, it doesn't matter that I didn't say it because someone else said it, and that's great. And I just got really excited by the idea that we were writing independently, but so much of what I was hearing in the group resonated for me.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, even like you just wrote in there, Sean, the Green Valley. Like I love that Samar's like contribution too was so concrete. And it was just like, yeah, like if it was just in doing, it would look like this pastoral scene, right? But when we abstract it to this like mental level, well, it's about balance, about awareness, about honesty and everything. That's all these mental forms. In physical form, though, it looks like this. And trees, goats, cows, children. So harmony, a feeling of harmony in that, right?
And the community. I really liked the bit about like having a community of people, because thing that came up for me a lot when I was trying to think of what the good life was thinking about just everybody I love, care about, knowing that they're all like taken care of, that their needs are met, and that they are also living life, because it wouldn't really be good for me if it wasn't good for them.
Oh, see, this is the kind of people I just want to be around. Thanks for saying that, Sarah.
Yeah.
And
I
I'm
think that-
wondering, like, back when that was more of a way that we lived, and we did have to work together to make it work in a beautiful green valley. And you had to care about your neighbors, and your neighbors had to care about you, or it wasn't going to work out because there wasn't, you know, grocery store down the street, and there wasn't this and that. Like, everyone had to pull together.
Mhm.
Like, were they happy? did they feel like that was the good life? Like, did they know that's what we would, you know,
Or did they
2,000 years
feel
later be
like-
looking back on?
Or did they feel like they were missing a washing machine?
But can I, that's a really, I do reflect on that a lot. And I always feel like there must have been some aspects of connection and community that was stronger than what it is right now. And that aspect of life surely had more weight in their happiness. But what else was missing? Like, there was also lots of fear. There was also lots of, I guess, yeah, like basic needs that wasn't met. So
Yes.
perhaps there was that part of it that was pulling them down from fully enjoying their life and being in that sort of joyful, I don't know, it's my, there was also a lot of other things that probably that wasn't, people were not evolved at that time to kind of resolve, or I don't know.
Yeah, it's always been nuanced.
Yeah.
It has always been nuanced.
Samar, were you trying to get in there as well?
Yeah, just I wanted to add a little bit more to what everybody was saying. The reason it was pretty clear, what I wrote, is because when you start doing things on the ground, because I've actually experienced all these things separately. I've spent some time in the farms doing the basic things. I've taught some people in a different place. I've lived on the hills for a couple of months by myself. So I've actually done things on the ground, and I realized that until it all comes together with the right people, it doesn't work. So what you want to do in the right place with the right people, only then it works for you as well. Otherwise, it doesn't work for you. So this was my realization, and it took me a good amount of time to realize it, because that's why I said the quote that I mentioned, the paradox of simplicity, you know. Making things simpler is actually hard work.
And even then, I just want to really make this point. You get the right people at the right place at the right time, and you're doing the right work, and you're still like, wait, what's going on over there? Not like I want to be over there, but like, who's this new person coming into our community? Should we let them in? How does that work? Like, and this comes up a ton in the psychology literature. You don't ever arrive. That's, maybe you do actually. If you're Leslie and a dog hugs you, you've arrived. You don't get to the point where it's like, I'm here, I've done it, or at least, I mean, I don't want to say that, because maybe you do, but it's suggesting like there's still a process. Like, you get in the right place with the right people, you're still doing in service to that being. So in any case, the good life, at least what seems like, is something that we do. It's not like we're like, man, I took this course on writing the good life. We didn't get there. Like, you know, it was a ripoff. I thought we were going to get there. When maybe we are, like, I feel like, you know, this is it's kind of it. Like, sorry, this is womp womp.
It's right now. Yeah.
Just shed a little light on
This
the
is
subject.
it. Yeah.
And that's what I was thinking of. I just wrote that. It just feels like a part of me just goes into this fantasy of amazing like scenery and like all the things I want to do, and I want to play my piano, and I want to have all the people I love around me, and I want to have the good food and, you know, the good sunlight. and then part of me goes, I don't know, is that really it? Is that really the good life, or is it just now, right now, in front of the Zoom call right now? That's
There's one of one of my favorite things, I can't remember who says this, that you know, if you think you're enlightened, go spend a weekend with your parents and your in-laws or something like this, where it's like you might all those things, playing your piano, having wonderful conversations, eating good food. Someone said a happiness that's not conditional. Because then can you go to your job cleaning toilets? Because if you can go to your job cleaning toilets and be like, oh man,
Good life.
that is some shit in there, you know, then like, yeah, so that's terrible, so bad. Yeah, my sense of humor is probably not the classiest. Sorry.
All good teachers use their hands, but with that particular
not
activity, it was pretty fun.
Because I mean, I do think that's the other. And Samara, I think there's a real danger here, and I guess that's another way of putting it. That if we make the good life as this thing out here, it kind of denigrates what we have to do here. But I don't know. I think this is Samara. I saw you on mute.
Just a quick thought when Shanaz was mentioning that this, opens up a fantasy world that I want to, play the piano, have the food, and everything. It just opens up that is just way beyond reality. It seems like it can never happen, but it is still there. Now, I remember the quote. This is by Blaise Pascal, okay? And he says that all the troubles in the world is due to the fact that a man cannot sit still quietly in his room all by himself alone. Now, the part where this fantasy plays out, if everything goes on right, absolutely right, as the way it is, there is something which triggers inside of you when you go back home into your room. And that if it gets unrecognized over and over again, it keeps bubbling. So if you create something which is perfect, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you cannot.
That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, I have this perfect situation. I wake up and the next day, I'm going to be looking at the horizon to make sure that no one's going to impede on my perfect situation. Like you never get there. Perfect for marketing. But that's why, honestly, I mean, presence, mindfulness, the mindful awareness of being non-judgmental of what is coming up to the surface and being able to just notice it is, I think, foundational, which is why we're using that as week one of our journey. Okay, so then that's really good. The next question would be, I think there's a value of having that fantasy world though too. I feel like that's nice to play the piano, eat good food, be with good people, have a good garden. I don't want to that seems awesome. Awesome. What are the concrete things we might do to get there? Like what and how, like Sarah, for example, saying, I want to make sure that my people are good. Does that mean like part of the good life is calling in on them and checking them in on them? Just being like, hey, I was thinking of you. How are you?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Do you see, like, that's one example. It's kind of like also like bringing it down to earth. If the good life is, for me, being overjoyed and doing this again, I guess I had already bring that down to earth. Good job, Sean. Way to go. Just enjoying the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I might also say, actually, you know what I've noticed? I'm going to enjoy the moment when I sleep better. So I'm going to do my best to just get better sleep. The good life for me is getting better sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So I do want to give us a tiny bit of time, maybe 2 minutes. What are some concrete like daily small things we might do, like calling the people we care about, or going on the walk, or getting better sleep, or calling investors who might want to purchase a large swath of a green valley to start my community. Does anything come to mind of like small steps I could take on the good life? Small things I might do.
One thing I think of is maybe in the morning sitting down and thinking about your map for the day of time. So I keep thinking time's really our most precious commodity. It's, it's better than, well, I can't say it's better than money because you need money to survive, but we spend it, right? And so how am I going to spend my day, and what things am I going to make sure I fit into it, because they are part of the good life, or they're the small piece of the good life? Is it having a great cup of coffee? Is it making sure I walk my dog? Is it, what are the things that could easily get pushed away because other things intrude on our time?
Any other things come up?
I'm thinking about appreciating and being present in the space between. Like, there's the big things that happen in those moments where you're like, oh, this is so light. Or those moments where we're like, oh dear God, this sucks so bad. How am I doing this? But there's this space between when maybe we're just you're kind of existing, but making sure that you make the most of the space between. Like, that you can't always be having the best good life, but you can still be having a good life. Like, good life is like waves. And so, I don't know, you don't want, I think like too much modulation in that, like you don't want the frequency to be too crazy, but enjoying the troughs, enjoying that space in between, the highs.
I was also thinking, it's almost like a muscle, right?
Yes.
The more you practice the good feelings that you want to bring in, and the fantasy is an interesting one because it actually gives you a clue on what are the feelings that you want to be experiencing, or what are the things that you like to be doing. So if we bring more of that into our life on a daily basis, we put ourselves in better energy, that then it kind of does prepare you to then savor when things are not in the fantasy or not going the way that things, that you like them as your, I don't know, perfect life, but you kind of have prepared to face that and still be able to be present. And as Leslie said, it's almost like see the in-betweens. That's how I see it. It's like how the habits or little things you can do on a daily basis to put yourself in that sort of feelings that you want to create, or the senses that you want to be. So what I was thinking, things like, well, if my perfect picture is to every day play the piano and have everybody and eat good food, well, how about I play the piano for 10 minutes every day? Or how about I make sure I have a really good piece of food that really is nourishing every day? Or how about I do make sure that every day I have some connection to someone that I love? Or like, it's kind of like those little pieces that you create out of that fantasy.
Yes. I really resonated with the bit about just like trying to enjoy the times that are less than ideal. I feel like for the last 2 years, probably, I've been on a really big mission to like enjoy suffering, for lack of a better way to describe it. I like to do a lot of stuff outside. I do a lot of rock climbing. There's a lot of those outdoor adventures where you have like a really well planned event, and a lot of times things don't go to plan and ends up being harder than you wanted it to be, ends up being scarier than you wanted it to be. But it's like pretty full commitment sometimes, I feel like, when you get into some of those things, and you kind of just have to do it. And I have friends, and I've like known a lot of people who have a really good job, like really do a good job of finding a way to somehow still have fun when everything is falling apart and like everything seems to be chaos. And I'm just like, I really admire that quality, and I want to be better and I'm getting better, but like learning how to reframe when something seems to not be going like to plan, or if you're like on a wall and you're climbing and it starts snowing on you and you're just like, this is actually fun and I'm gonna learn how to embrace it and just go with it. And that's been very helpful for other things. But yeah, I'm like trying to find a way to enjoy the times that are not the fantasy is an ongoing project. Yes. And I don't know, for me, concrete things that I would do, I definitely try to reach out to at least a friend or two every day. And I'm like, I write a few sentences down every day. Ever since the first Writing the Good Life, I'm like, I can commit to a couple sentences a day. And it really,
That's right.
my concern about not remembering everything that always happens to me. And that is very helpful as well. And I try to take a few pictures of things that I think are pretty every day, and just like little things that are easy and break up some of the other stuff that's not so fun.
Great group.
It always is.
They've been getting better. I don't want to like play favorites, but okay. We only have 5 minutes left and I do want to have a hard stop. Here's what's going to happen. I already sent you this week, it's in the email. Each week there's daily writing invitations.
Mhm.
We're using the take what works for you and forget the rest. So if none of that works for you, don't read any of it. But the one thing I think is required, that I do want to require it for all of us, is to write a contract for yourself and with yourself. I call it a creative contract because it can be whatever you want. I'm encouraging you, though, to add in a daily and weekly component of your contract for the next 7 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So we're playing with this, and honestly, of all the tools, I'm sure a lot of tools over the next 7 weeks. This one may be like the most durable and adaptable to be able to like do what we're doing on your own with another person. Like, hey, do you want to like run twice a week with me? And they're like, wow, sure. You just made a contract, right? Being able to do it between you and yourself, and actually like if you're in a place where you can print out the contract that you write and sign it, so something happens. It's like you're on the line. So I'd encourage you to do that with what you want to do every day or every week. You do not need to send your contract to me because I don't want this to be like school, but you can if you want. It's okay to have this be a draft of the contract. One of the invitations in week 2 is to rewrite your contract. Because usually what happens is you're like, I'm going to play my piano 5 minutes a day, call my friends, eat good food, write a few sentences, make progress. I'm going to make one piece of content. So me, I want to make one piece of fun content a day. You know, that's educational. I want to integrate this book and this book into this course because they fit. They're fascinating. That gives me something to work on. I already have the feeling that like, dude, you're overshooting here. Especially considering I have like 3 other things I want to do in the next 7 weeks. Bigger things. Yes, these are the 2 optional books. What's interesting, and I did just optional wise this week, what is the good life according to Buddhism? Is living according partially. The answer I like is there's 4 heavenly states. Equanimity, being okay with the way things happen. Compassion, being with another person's suffering. Sympathetic joy, being with another person's joy. And loving kindness, being kind and loving other people and ourselves. Mm-hmm. So what is the good life? Practicing the 4 heavenly states. Because if you can practice equanimity, You're not going to be perturbed when the snow hits. You're going to be like, oh, this is interesting. Here we go. Let's go. You can be with other people in their pain. You can be with other people in their joy. Experience it as your own, and you can love other people. According what Owen Flanagan says in his chapter on Buddhism is it gives you a piece of serenity. It's not the happiness, like you're not going to be like yeehaw. You're going to be like, present. You're going to be able to open to be present with other people. That's why it's totally possible to be like a Buddhist Christian, to use Buddhist meditation techniques to show up more, to love other people. They're not mutually exclusive, right?
This is actually very profound, Sean, what you mentioned. And if you allow me just 1 brief minute, I would like to share an experience that I recently had while I was traveling to Amritsar.
Go ahead. Sorry, I'm laughing at Snaz's comment still. Yes, please go ahead, Smar, and then we'll close.
So just very recently, I was traveling to Amritsar, and the largest shrine of Sikhs, the Holy Temple, is there in Amritsar. Okay, so I was part of a ministry there, and this is a growing ministry in Amritsar. Mostly people who are into deliverance, they come there to get deliverance and inner healing ministry. Okay, and I was seated next to one blind man, and the other person was, 3 people more. One person was fit and fine. The other person was not able to walk properly. Okay, and that was my seating arrangement. I had to live there, sleep there, eat there with them for next 3 days. So what I figured out was, because I was better than them, I was helping them out. This just happened naturally because I was with them. How else would I have found that opportunity if I would be working in the corporate, doing my thing? I would have never found that opportunity, right? But I went there and this happened. And at that moment, I was feeling that, yes, I'm able to help. And nothing else was on my mind. So I was just emptied in my mind. No thoughts. I was just there helping somebody. And this happened for 3 days. We were eating, sleeping together in the big area. It's a big lawn. If you visit that place, you will be surprised how big it is. So yeah, I just recall that when you mentioned if you help others, and and when they smile, I mean, this blind man, when he was smiling, that was a different kind of a smile I've never seen before. Something has happened to him which he never expected. And this smile is real and genuine. There is no hidden agenda behind it. And when I shared that happiness with him, it was something more. It was more. So yeah, I had experienced that very recently.
I love that. I do. If you want to take these conversations further, either you can reach out and we can have a meeting, a brief meeting, or if there's people in here that you want to reach out to find a time to chat about any of this stuff, feel free. If anyone does not want to be on a group email thread, let me know. But if there's something that comes up that you think the group would benefit from, feel free to email the entire group. So that email that I sent out today, you can reply all to be like, hey, everybody, just thought you might like this LeBron James basketball card. Here it is. I don't know why you would do that, but if you feel like you want to do that, you can, right? So about whatever, if it's relevant to you and you think it's relevant to the group, feel free to share it. If you don't want to get those emails, let me know. We don't really use the email. And honestly, the communication between meetings is usually not very existent. I'm curious about how to play with that. If you want more of that, or if you want to be paired up randomly with someone to talk to them about this stuff, that's an option as well. So, but otherwise, we'll see you next week, same time.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much. Very
Super
nice.
good. Super good.
Bye.
Great people.
You.
Thank you all. We'll see you next week.
Nice meeting
Let me
all.
know.
Everyone, great
Yep.
first class.
So fun. See you next week.